Today is Saturday, July 18th, 2015, and this is the Bunny Slippers of Evil Job Seekers Call-In Show, presented by Evil Bunny Consulting. I'm your host, Tyrone Griffin, and if it's 3 p.m. you have on your bunny slippers, you are not looking for a job. Welcome first-time and returning listeners. In this show, we discuss strategies and tactics of job search, staying motivated, and dealing with career transition. For more tips, resources, daily motivations, and to listen to archive shows, go to the website bunnyslippersofevil.com. There you'll also find links to our Facebook page and Twitter handle. If you are listening live, you can call in with your questions at 347-202-0929. Again, 347-202-0929. And now a word from our sponsors. Evil Bunny Consulting is the alternative to expensive outplacement. We give job seeker workshops as well as the one-on-one job seeker boot camp. For more information, go to www.bunnyslippersofevil.com. Resume Edit is the low-cost, high-quality resume writing company with resumes as low as $35 written by certified resume writers. You can find them online at www.resume4edit.com or call 404-860-2473 and be sure to tell them you heard about them on the Bunny Slippers of Evil Job Seekers podcast. Let 3dresumes.net turn your resume into a web page with a customized domain for 12 months for only $30. Help hiring managers and recruiters find you, make your resume available 24/7, and get a professional, personalized email address just for your job search. You can see my online resume at tyronegriffin.com, and for more information on how to get your own, go to 3dresumes.net. If you're thinking or about to look for a job in today's world, you will find a new reality in the job search process. The world has changed. Job search today is much more complicated than 5 years ago. Volumes of resumes, more applicant screening systems, depersonalized applications, panel interviews, team hiring, long complicated applications, branding, and social media. Yes, the world has changed. But are you still trying yesterday's approach? Why struggle and miss out on today's opportunities? Career Oyster is here to help. Great coaches, the latest resources, unique strategies personally tailored to your job search. Find out the new reality and how you can prevent costly mistakes. To register for a free 45-minute private session with head coach Howard Caddy, go to www.careeroyster.com. Find out the facts now. You'll be glad you did. Remember their motto, the world is your oyster, be the pearl. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Oh, man. I had a little workout in the yard this morning, and I literally ran right in. So those seeing the video, well, I'm not sweating anymore, but I'm tired. This week's show, for those new people, new first-time listeners, this week is probably one of the more emotional shows that I've done. This one is called Negative Job Experiences. And if you have one you want to call in with, sure, feel free. The number is 347-202-0929. But I have enough negative job experiences of my own to probably fill up a good half hour. Reason I thought about this show, the topic for this show, is because a lot of us go through things. And, the fear usually is that if I went through a negative experience at a job, that it's going to haunt me for eons and eons, and I'll never be able to live that down, and that will affect me. I just want to tell you it won't. Job search is it's really kind of hard to explain, but a lot of remember this: whatever happened, when somebody calls up, and I'm not talking about situations where you're an embezzler and you end up on the front page of the newspaper. You got problems. But sometimes things happen in your job. And I kind of tried to write down my top 10 worst negative job experiences. And I didn't make these up. These are things that I've been through in my career. But I've been able to bounce back. And the point is, you can always, no matter how bad a situation is, you don't have to carry that baggage with you to the next job. I've had conversations with friends of mine in job search, and they've told me about really crazy negative experiences they've had on jobs, leaving jobs, in not the most the best position. I'll say it like that. So I'll just start, and I'll probably do some some rat holes. So all you guys doing the drinking game, feel free to get ready. You know, the first negative job experience I had was in my very first job. And when I say a negative job experience, I mean something that affected me. I started working in February. February 20th was the day I started working. And that year, Christmas, we got bonuses. And we got them our Christmas bonus. We had a team event, and it was cocktails and things like that, and they were going to hand out everybody's bonus. You get your envelope, here's your, in the end of the night, everybody ripped their envelope open. Oh yeah, see what they got. And my bonus was $75. Yeah, my bonus was $75. And I remember, you didn't reveal, nobody knew what anybody else got, but I remember one guy saying, I overheard him say, "Oh man, they took $250 tax out of my bonus." And that hit me because I realized how unvaluable my contributions had been to the team that year. And it was harder because I was taking my Christmas vacation. I wasn't going anywhere, but I was off for 2 weeks. And I remember that was the hardest 2 weeks because, my first job out of college. And I remember just thinking, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you can see what the company was. But I remember it was like, I feel like I'm a naturally paranoid person anyway, but that feeling of realizing that, and the bosses picked, the bonus levels, and realizing that my contribution was valued that way, that the job I had done was, the value of it was that low. My first job, and you start thinking, I'm going to get fired. So for the next 2 weeks, I just worried about it. That was all on my mind. I was home for 2 weeks, and it was like, I got to do better. I got to do better. That was the very first, what I would consider negative job experience. And it's been many, many years ago, and I still remember. I still remember the room. We were in, the walls were red. I remember the person actually who made the comment. And they weren't saying it to me. They were just talking. People were standing around, and they were making that, and they happened to make that comment. This was somebody too who was had just started same time I did. So it wasn't a situation where, this is a person that's been there 20 years and you've been there 3 weeks. No, this is a person that started same time I had. So it was that was hard. That rocked me. And maybe I was over dramatic at the time, but you're fresh out of college and you think, I'm going to make a change in the world. I'm going to be CEO one day. And your first indicator is that you have failed miserably. So yeah, that was an eye opener. That was a really negative experience for me. Again, years later, and I still remember it. So that was really a negative experience. And some of these, they may not seem like big deals, but and I guess that's part of the point as well, is the things that we go through. Sometimes if somebody tells you they're going through something, it may not seem like a big deal to you. But rat hole time. I remember when I was in the fifth grade, and I remember I was doing something where we were helping out the kids in like second and third grade. And I remember this little girl was crying, and her friends were consoling her. And I remember she was crying because somebody wouldn't be her friend. And it hit me that, I'm in fifth or sixth grade, whatever I was, like, yeah, that's not a big deal. But it hit me that for her, that was a big deal, So it just, I always remember that because, your perspective, is not the same as a person going through it. As I say, one of my sayings now is the tornado looks a whole lot different on TV than it does when you're sitting in the middle and watching your house spin. So anyway, that was a rat hole. tell you about another negative experience. As I have notes this week. Uh, I had a boss. I had a boss once, and this is, I was totally wrong in this situation. He and I, we didn't see eye to eye. We did not see eye to eye at all. I came over to to the department, and the boss who hired me left literally like a month later. He took a new job, so me and a coworker, we really ran the department. She wasn't my boss, but she knew everything. We had no boss for literally about a year, and oh my gosh, the stuff that we got done. We got a lot done in that year with no boss. Then they hired this new guy in, and this is just my perspective. My perception of him was that he was a brown noser, big time brown noser. I'm not saying he was. I'm saying this is what my perception was, and it was, we were in database marketing, and my perception of him was that he was, and I was probably 26 at the time, 27. It was that was about my third job, yeah, and he was I felt he was a brown noser to the point where he was just suck up to anybody. And I used to say, he wants to kiss you behind, but he wants to use my lips. I'm like, nah. So he and I, we just had philosophical disagreements on how to do database marketing. And, my perspective was, let me teach the people how to do it. And his was, no, let's do it for them. And I'm like, no, if we do it, it's to teach the man to fish, he'll feed himself for a lifetime. That was my perspective. He and I used to go in his office, literally, and we would shut the door and have yelling matches at each other. And I was totally, I will be the first one to admit I was totally, totally wrong. I did not show the respect I should have. I've learned. I was young. I've learned a lot since then. But I did not give him the respect that I should have given him. I mean, I was respectful enough to shut the door. But my coworker, she worked with him. She just, she did what she had to do. Me and her are still good friends, But she just, okay, this is what he wants, fine. Let's just do it. But I was headstrong and all those, good, bad qualities. And he and I used to seriously, there were a few times where she would be in the room with us, and we'd have a team meeting, and he would, she'd just like, okay, I'm leaving. Because me and him started going at it. One thing he did do that was really bad, and I'm going to blame him for this. He used to take his shoes off in his office. And why is that an issue? Because he used to do that and not lock the door. He shut the door. So he'd be in there with it, and he got used to it. Man, you'd go in there for a meeting, and man, it smelled like Doritos. And I don't say that to be funny. I'm dead serious, man. You take your shoes off in your office, and you sitting there for about an hour. It ain't pretty. You don't notice it, but everybody coming in is like, man, light a match. But anyway, my point is, that was me being arrogant, headstrong, stupid, whatever you want to call it, thinking I knew everything, not liking the way he did things. And he and I, we butted heads. And, I give him credit. He didn't fire me, but he respected my opinion. This guy was in his 40s. I was a 26-year-old snot-nosed kid. And we used to go at it. And then I left the department maybe a year or two later. And we kind of kept in touch for a minute, I still remember his name. I'm not going to say it. But if he's listening, he knows who he is. And I want to apologize for not respecting your leadership. And I don't mean that to be arrogant or snotty. I mean that. I learned a lot from that experience. It was a very negative experience, but I did learn a lot from it about respect, about the respect I should have given him that I didn't. So for that, if he's listening, I truly apologize. I had my times. So that was one. I was told, here's a situation. I worked for a guy who was vice president, and he was very, he still is, very well respected. He's retired now. We still exchange Christmas cards, and it's been 15 years since I worked for him. We still exchange Christmas cards every year. And he was a vice president, very well respected, and I worked for him. And he was great. He just let me do whatever I want. He said, here's your job, you know what to do, just deal with it. and he let me have free reign and did a lot. And he retired. And the nature of my job was that I did things on a national scale. Well, because of that, I couldn't really. It was hard for me to report to anybody regionally because I had to deal with people all over the country. So they put me under a woman, and she never knew this, but my nickname for her was Barracuda. What other person in the world knows that nickname? And he passed away a couple of months ago, so nobody knows who she is. But yeah, our nickname for him, because he knew what I was going through, was Barracuda. My job was, I did sales compensation, and I did it by myself. I supported 300 salespeople, and I had. When I went under her, she decided, wow, this is a really important job. We need to build a department to do this because it's too much for one person to handle. And I agreed heartily. So she got funding and she created a department structure. And I applied for the role of leading the department since I had been doing the job for 2 years, 3 years at that point on my own. And went through the app. I applied for it, and she told me, I interviewed with this person. I mean, our one-on-ones were ridiculous because she had teams under her. She had the rest of her staff on my level with her. Some of them had 150 people under them, and then I was this lone person. So I just didn't fit anywhere. So that's why I was like, we need to build a department for this. But I interviewed. And, went through the interview, and then, a week later, so we were having our one-on-one. And at that one-on-one, she told me, there is no way I would ever consider you for that leadership role in that department. And, to be honest, I thought we had a neutral to negative relationship up until that point. That just confirmed it. And not only that, she was hiring somebody else to be the head of that department. She was hiring somebody else to be a lead person in that department. And I was going to be under both of them. Writing on the wall, time to beat feet. And I moved on. I found a job in another area, I applied for it and got it. And it was, I had no ill will. For about a week or so, I actually reported to these people. I had no ill will against them. Matter of fact, I helped them for the next month or so after I left the job. I helped them do it, but it was like, I call that a negative experience because to me, it spoke to my value, of how I felt I was being valued. That even though I had run this whole program by myself, she had different intentions in mind, I guess, for the department. I'll put it like that. But she told me in no uncertain terms, there is no way I would ever consider you for that role. And wow. Yeah. I had a couple of negative experiences in my job search, So anyway, I moved on, and it worked out well. Things, worked out pretty well. I've had, we all have our annual evaluations, the performance reviews, and I've had some that I know one company I worked at, and there was one rating was called generally adequate. That was the rating. It's like, really? And this may not be true for all places, all companies, but this, the one company I was at, we pushed management, not we, but like all the employees pushed management because we couldn't understand how the employee rating system worked. As far as you get your rating, and then a week later you get your bonus, and it's like, wait a minute, you guys had to put those bonuses in like 2 months ago. How does our evaluation have anything to do with our rating? Like, really, it doesn't. It just, they admitted that, your review is basically come down to, at least for that company. In other words, it was, in case we need to fire you, we got track record. If something crazy comes up and we got to fire you, look, this person's been getting terrible reviews for the last 4 years. This is why we fired them. So yeah, that was. But anyway, I've had those reviews where you're sitting there and your review, one thing I learned to do is from this experience is just I constantly try to check in once a month, even one-on-ones. How am I doing? Ask my boss, how am I doing? I encourage everybody to do that because surprises suck. Surprises suck. When you think you're going into your annual review and say, I've been kicking it, and your boss starts whittling off stuff, and you're by the time you in that meeting, you're like this, you feel this big, and you're like, what in the world? Sometimes companies have, they can only give a certain number of people certain ratings, because everybody wants to be a star, but everybody's not a star, including me. So I've had those experiences where you just leave out of your annual review and people say, how'd it go? And you don't want to say nothing because you got like out of a scale of 1 to 5, you got like a 1.6, and the average was like 3. And, they give you a 2.9 and said, they said, and because of your rating this year, you will not be getting a performance bonus. Where if everybody gets a 3, everybody, whoever gets a 3 gets a bonus. You got a 2.5. And, it's that feeling again of, and I've had a lot of these, don't get me wrong. I haven't been failing up, but I've had a few. And it makes you just, right now I'm in a great situation. I'm in a great situation at work but I remember what it was like. So I guess my point with this part of the story is don't ever get arrogant. Don't ever think, don't let yourself get too low or too high. If things are going great, be humble, be thankful, but keep going. Don't dwell on the successes of yesterday or the failures of yesterday. Do not dwell on them. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new opportunity to be great, and take that opportunity to be great. Okay. Let me see what else. I've been on performance improvement plans twice. PIPs, they give it a nice, cute name. Been on those, where they say, and exactly what it sounds like, a performance improvement plan. We have to get you up to here. You are here. Okay. That's a really bad feeling. I'm not saying it wasn't warranted. I had a lot going on over the last, over my job career, my working career. I had a lot of personal things going on that impacted me. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying the reality. I had a lot of things at home, outside of work that were going on. And a lot of times those things took my focus off my job. And, not using that as an excuse, but there were a lot of times when it just took my focus. I was not able to focus on my job as I should have. All these stories, I'm not saying I'm innocent in all of them. I'm not saying I'm innocent in any of them, but things happen. Ooh, what's next on the Tyrone sucked as an employee job train? Walked out. Okay, I've been walked out of a job. Situation where I came into work and my manager said, "Come on down. I'm gonna have a meeting." And we went down to an HR person's office, and I sat down, and they said, "We're gonna let you go, right now." And that was it. No warning, no nothing, no severance, nothing. Luckily, it's funny how, I always talk about how God works in mysterious ways. I had started looking for a job. I won't say I started looking. Jobs started looking for me a few months before this. I wasn't reaching out to anybody. People started calling me all of a sudden. And, you say when God closes the door, he knocks. I say, people say when God closes the door, he opens a window. No, when God closes the door, he knocks down a wall. Okay. This was at 10:30 in the morning. I was sitting in HR's office, and they were going over, you're leaving. We're going to give you a box, go upstairs, clean your desk out, and leave. I had an interview already. I had a second interview for a position at 2:30 that afternoon that I'd already set up. Again, I didn't go looking for a job. The job came and found me. So, when I always talk about trusting God, there's reasons I say that. He has really taken care of me. So I'm in that meeting. It was funny. I'm in there with HR and my boss here sitting next to me, and HR sitting there, and they're wondering if this guy's gonna get violent because I'm a big 6'4" guy. And in my mind, I'm just going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I got to get home so I can get ready for this interview. Hurry up. I was already taking a half day so I could take the interview. I was like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. That was just a crazy situation. Um, Let me see what time. We got about 5 minutes left. Let me see if I can tell you about this. Anything else I haven't told you about? Okay, that one, that one. I've been pulled aside by a manager for a chat and told, you're a grown man, man up. Again, I told you there was a lot of things going on in my life that nobody knew about, and I did not tell anybody. So I just tried to deal with them, and I probably didn't do a great job of dealing with those things all the time. So when you have another manager call you aside and say, my team is getting annoyed with you, your support, and man up. And it's somebody who is many years younger than you. It hit me. I mean, there were times it hit me, and it woke me up. But then I had other things dealing with, so I went right back to sleep. Got about 4 minutes left. And let me tell you about the last time. The last one. It wasn't the last time. I moved my family 1,100 miles for a job. And, there were certain promises I was made. That was why I did that move. That's why I moved my family. And about 3 or 4 months after we moved and we got settled in, there was a reorganization. And it had nothing to do with me. It was just reorganization, but I was impacted by it. And as a result, all the promises that I was made when I came to take the job went out the window. And, nobody intentionally just said, well, all that stuff we told you, it's off. No, the reorg happened and people lost positions, and as it really affected the ability of me to do my job. So I ended up being thrown literally to the wolves. Instead of 3 years of training, which I was supposed to have, I had 3 months of training, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. For the next year and a half in that job, it was a total and complete nightmare. I mean, I was going to work at 9 in the morning, getting home at 9 at night, having no clue what I was doing. And I'll be totally honest, because I didn't have the training. It's kind of like I equate it to if you're an ER nurse and you go to the ER your first day reporting for duty, and the rest of the staff quits and you're the ER by yourself. Yeah, it was a disaster. I'll be the first one to say it was a disaster. Totally, it was, well, and then again, I had things going on outside of work that I couldn't focus on them. I couldn't focus on work. It was a mess. It was a mess. And, my review that year, oh my gosh, you talk about it bad. Think about the worst review, not the worst review you've ever had. Think about the worst possible review anybody in the history of reviews has ever had. That's what I got. It was bad, and during that time, my both my parents passed. So oh gosh, you talk about everything just crumbling. But my point is, God took care of me when I ready to leave. There was something. He took care of me. My point, and I got about a minute left. Right on time. No matter what happens, you can always move on, and you can always just keep going. I'm not saying that, look, I've had all these things. Look where I am now. Where I am now, I'm still here. I'm employed. I'm thankfully employed. So don't dwell on the past. No matter how bad an experience is, a negative job experience, we all have them. No matter how bad it is, you can keep going. Just get up, brush yourself off, learn from the experience. Don't try to forget it. I mean, I'm talking things that happened 25 years ago to me, and I still remember them. And I remember them every time. When things are going well, I remember those times when things weren't going well. And I say, you know what? I got to make sure that I never put myself in that situation again. So anyway, that was my negative job experience stories. I probably got a few more I haven't told you about. I'll think about them. I don't know. But anyway, for new listeners, this is not like, the show is not like this every week. This is just something I felt needed to be done. So with that, people, we're going to be closing this out in a few minutes. Not a few minutes, about 15 seconds, 10 seconds. So everybody have a good week. Take care, and I will see you again next week. Take care and bye-bye.